Hello, everyone. This is Megan,
And this is Alana.
and welcome to Tea Time Crimes. Hello. We're here.
Hi.
Ooh,
We made it.
You sound sassy today.
I am. We got a bomb cyclone last night, so I didn't sleep great. But
Oh no!
and part of our fence is down, but it's usual, so it's fine.
What is that?
I'm not really sure, but
It's a weather. This is a weather term. Yes.
This is a weather term.
Okay.
And it's like very strong winds, and parts of like neighboring cities or suburbs got hail and stuff like that. There was tornadoes, but we lucked out. It was just very loud last night.
So you and the zoo are okay?
Yep, all good. The chickens are in their run though instead of out in the yard because we got to put that fence back up. So yeah, fun times.
And so the fence didn't make it.
No, just a panel, but it's not a great one anyways, so it's not a big surprise. It's fine.
It was the worst panel in the fence.
Yeah, it was the worst panel. It's already broken from the other hurricane, so
nice. I just wanted that open yard concept.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all that was happening. Yikes. So I'm glad you're okay. Hopefully you have a caffeinated tea for today then.
Yes.
I didn't tell you anything about today's episode. All I said,
except it was dark.
I said, bring some body.
Bring some body.
So what do you have for us today?
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this one is called, and don't laugh.
No, now that you said
this one is called Puer.
I mean, come on.
Imperial, okay? And I picked it because it was a dark tea, ideal after a meal. Or in French, thé sombre. That's not French.
Boy.
Oh, anyways.
Wait, can you say the name again for real? Is that how you say it?
Puer.
How do you spell it?
P-U space E-R-H. Okay?
Yeah, that checks out.
I did a little research into this. And so people are on the fence about the flavor. It smells terrible. Okay? But I wanted a dark, somber tea for today, okay? But usually it's an after meal or after dessert tea. Like you'd get it after a heavy meal, like greasy stuff. So a good quality Puer tea has a deep, rich flavor that people consider earthy or mushroomy.
Oh God!
A bad one would taste muddy or moldy. So let's do a coin flip for which I get today.
Did you say a corn flip?
Coin flip?
Oh, a coin flip. That makes more sense.
Back in Iowa, we do corn flips. Also, Iowans don't talk like that.
No, they don't. It was a great accent. But your family's from Iowa, so you know they don't talk like that.
My dad's side is from Iowa.
You go there for family reunions.
Yep. Yeah.
Hi, Iowa family.
Hi, Iowa family. Yeah. So
wait, I'm sorry. Can you say what the good flavors are? What? Mushrooms and mold?
No. Earthy and mushroomy. The bad quality would be muddy or moldy.
I mean, I got to tell you, earthy and mushroom don't sound fantastic either.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. But yeah, it's it's a Chinese tea, as you might have guessed.
I did not guess. I didn't. Okay. I have no idea what's happening.
Well, shall we?
I
brought a little bit of milk just in case. It says you could have it with or without.
Just in case the smell is so terrible, you need something to cut it. This sounds amazing.
It smells like fish.
Oh, stop. You're not going to drink it. You're not going to drink it.
It's very healthy tea.
I don't care. I'm not drinking fish juice. Yuck.
All right, ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Oh, man.
Here she goes.
Not bad.
Stop. It is too.
It's not. It really is not bad. And it certainly has some body.
Oh,
it just smells really bad. You know, maybe, mushrooms sometimes smell bad, but they taste great.
No, that's not accurate. That's not that. Oh, you're still drinking it.
I'm trying to get any bad notes, but.
Yeah, what are the notes? Lay the notes on me. Hit me with that melody. What's it got in it?
I taste the earthiness.
You love earthy.
It's that deep. It's a deep earthiness, and it has great body.
Yuck.
It just smells terrible.
Okay, so smells like fish, tastes like dirt.
Yeah, but good dirt.
If there's that disease where people eat things that aren't edible, you would absolutely be shoveling in dirt if you had that.
I'm going to put some milk in. I have my little pot of milk and my grandma's Dunne teaspoon.
Hey, the banging of that tea. I can hear that tea stir. Go, calm down with the spoon there.
Now I'm going to try with milk.
Okay. Ooh.
Okay, it smoothed it out.
Oh, was
still
it
very
jagged
pleasant?
Before?
That's nice.
Stop it.
Oh, and it has a little aftertaste now of just like lingers on the tongue.
Of what? Fish bones?
that earthiness. You can really taste the tea. All right, this is a winner. Pu'er for the win. I'm ready for this episode.
Yikes. We should do an episode where you make me try pu'er.
We have to make you try bubble tea or you're going to hate it. You're going to hate it. Can't wait.
But yeah, we do. Because the chunkiness of it makes me uncomfortable.
They're slimy too.
Oh.
I'm so pumped for that episode.
Yuck. Okay. You have officially grossed me out. Feel like we have set the tone for the episode. I appreciate it. And let's dive in.
That's what I'm here for, baby.
You nailed it. Today we are going to talk about the life of Candace Mossler.
Candace.
So Candace and her husband, Jacques Mossler.
Jacques.
I knew you'd like that name. Were wealthy Texas socialites. Huge mansion. Nice cars, apartments in Chicago and Miami, designer clothes. You get it. They're living the life. By the 1960s, Jacques' business, which was primarily auto lending, was said to be one of the largest sources of consumer credit.
Wow.
Yeah. And the Mosslers were estimated to be worth $33 million.
What?
In the 1960s.
Dang, dude.
Yeah. So, from the outside, if you catch an article or you buy a car from them, things look pretty good. They're living the life. But on June 30th, 1964.
Hey, good date.
I know, which happens to be my birthday, not the year, but my birthday. It's kind of a bummer. Anyway, Candace's world is turned upside down when she returns to their Florida apartment.
Oh, no.
And finds Jacques dead.
Ugh.
You're going to want to earmuff for this next part.
Okay. So
Jacques was found brutally murdered, several blows to the head. And on top of that, he was stabbed 39 times.
I'm back.
So at the time of his death, Candace and Jacques had been married for nearly 15 years.
Wow.
He was more than 20 years her senior. And it was a second marriage for both of them.
Okay.
But Jacques was giving Candace the absolute life of her dreams. So Candace grew up, she was born in 1920, and she grew up in a very small town in Georgia that didn't even have 500 people.
Wow.
Yeah. I grew up in a small town, but we had thousands of people and a movie theater and a McDonald's, and it was big time. So 500 people, that is very,
yeah,
very
I cannot
small.
imagine. I mean, wow.
Yeah. So Candace was the fifth out of 9 children. And Candace's mother actually died in childbirth in 1932.
I mean, yeah.
So this leaves Candace's father with 6 kids that are under the age of 18 still in the house. And that, coupled with the fact that he just lost his wife, he has a breakdown.
Oh, no.
Yeah. He sends the rest of the children to go be with their grandparents. He can't take care of
Okay.
them anymore.
Okay.
So her grandparents, they take the kids in. They've already raised 6 children of their own, including Candace's mother.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in their 60s. But they take them in. And it's at this time that the theory is that's when Candace really started obsessing and dreaming about living the good life. She wanted to be rich, famous. She wanted to have things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But in 1937, Candace actually dropped out of high school to get married to a man her grandfather essentially picked out for her.
All right, gals, don't do this. Get your education.
He was 11 years older than her.
Oh, at that age is not okay.
I know, right? When you're 17 or 18,
it's way different. Like if you're 30 and he's 50, that's different. If you're 18 and he's 30, that's not cool.
Yeah. So they get married, they move to Alabama, and her husband works for a concrete company and makes about $1,500 a year, which is fine, but that's not, that's very far from
Candace's living the good
dreams.
life.
Yes. She becomes pregnant very quickly and gives birth to her first child. And after that, the feelings get even stronger, right? She's home all day alone. She's not even near her family anymore. And she's seeing other girls because she's still a teenager, her age, finishing high school, going to college, or even just living with their parents and going out to parties and shopping. And
what year are we at right now?
So she got married in 1937 when she was only 17, and then she got pregnant pretty quickly. So now she's about 19 by the time this is all happening. So she's getting very restless, very bored. She's not happy, and she wants to get out of the house. So she starts volunteering as a hostess for the USO. Here, she meets a very handsome, very wealthy soldier who is from a very big name family, and the two of them start having an affair.
Oh boy. What's the USO?
It is the United States organization.
Just an organization for the United States.
Yes. We work with soldiers. So if you're part of the USO, you'll go, a lot of celebrities do it and go do entertainment or shows.
Oh, cool.
Or,
like Captain America. Well, that's fake, but
is that it?
That's how he started out, by entertaining the soldiers.
Oh. Yeah. And did I say the United States organization?
Yeah.
That's my first problem. United Service Organizations is what I wrote down, which makes more sense. It's just an organization where you just sit around and draw the American flag all day. She was really into it. Adult coloring was raging at this time. Yeah, I wrote United States Organization, but it's services. So
cool.
It happens sometimes. Anyway, services. All right,
she found a soldier and they're necking it.
Yeah, they're, more than necking it. She gets pregnant again.
Oops.
Assuming I know what necking means. And she's still with her husband. Nobody to this day knows for sure who the father is.
Oh, right. Sure.
It's thought to be that it was the soldier because they weren't romantically involved really after this, but he was in her life for pretty much the remainder of it. And often she would kind of come into these windfalls and they thought it was probably him helping provide. So anyway,
I see.
After the second child, she divorces her first husband.
Bye.
And she starts modeling. She's a petite blonde, very attractive. She starts doing modeling, doing her thing. And she moves to New Orleans and opens a school for modeling.
That's where I am.
I know. So this is where she meets Jacques. But
of course, Jacques in New Orleans.
Put a pin on it because Jacques was born in 1896 and he immigrated from Romania in 1901 with his parents.
What? Interesting.
They first settled in New York and then quickly moved to Chicago. Jacques' father and mother separated, so Jacques also dropped out of school, but in order to work and provide for the family. So he was selling newspapers on the streets of Chicago.
He's a hustler.
Yeah, and he learned a lot from this. He learned about loan sharks and lending. He had a very good business mind. So in 1915, he moved to New Orleans. Here, he becomes a loan manager for local car dealers.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a lot of insights into used cars, rental cars, personal loans, and he opens the Mossler Motor Exchange and sells used cars. And then in the late 20s, he opens the Mossler Acceptance Corporation, which is a lending business. And car dealers throughout the South are now using this business.
So cool.
To fund their cars. And he also, to fund their loans, I mean. And he also is, like I said, he's a shrewd businessman. So he has the insight of, hey, we're missing a whole demographic of people who don't qualify for loans. And he starts lending to people who have bad credit. Because he can charge higher interest.
Yes.
Which opens him up to a whole bunch of lawsuits for predatory lending.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to have repo men. He has to have lawyers. Most of the time he wins these lawsuits. He's doing everything within the legal confines that are available to him. But still, it's, he's a ruthless businessman. He's doing this thing. At the same time, through all this, right, this is the late 1920s that he forms this corporation. When he first moved to New Orleans, he married a girl from Gretna. I know. You know the area.
That's wow.
I know.
That's on the West Bank.
They had 4 daughters together. So Jacques is, family man, 4 children, building his business. It's getting, obviously by 1960s, it's huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the late 1940s, he divorces his first wife.
Okay.
And Candace enters stage left.
Hello, Candace.
And they get married very quickly.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So by 1949, they are married. They move to Houston. Like I said, huge house, has about 30 rooms.
What?
But I don't even know. I can't even name 30
creep
rooms.
Me out. I'd hate it.
I'd be lost.
Ugh.
And brand new cars. He's giving her jewelry all the time, and she has a $5,000 a month household budget.
Wow.
Which, what do you think that means? Because they have a full staff, so it's not as though she's doing the grocery shopping and that's for food.
Right.
Is it curtains?
Maybe furniture? Getting new stuff? I mean...
Is it just walking around money?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I have no idea.
She's living the good life.
Yeah, this is her dream. This is what she's wanted all along. This is her dream. So, Candace is pumped. But Candace has a little bit of trouble fitting in. Like I told you, she's this charming Southern perky blonde.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't really fit in with the Texas wives because she's not really refined enough.
Oh, because she comes from kind of like backcountry Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not maybe everything she expected, but she does what she can to fit in. She's very charming. Okay. A lot of baby dolls and honey and sweethearts, just really laying it on thick. And she gets involved. She sits on the board of the companies, and she also is involved in tons of charity work. And I think she probably did the charity work for social reasons because she wanted to be involved and have friends
be in the community,
go to the parties. Jacques could care less. He'll write her a check and then he doesn't want to go anywhere. So,
gotcha.
They're trying to work it out. He'll go sometimes, but for the most part, she often will go herself if he doesn't want to go because she seems to crave attention and people. And then in 1957, so between the two of them, they already have 6 children.
Okay.
But in 1957, they catch a news story about a man who's incredibly mentally ill, and he had a breakdown, and he murdered his wife and his youngest child. And there were 4 remaining children left. And Jacques and Candace immediately make arrangements to adopt them.
What?
Yeah. They fly to where they live, they get them, and they bring them back, and cameras are waiting. As these 4 little kids are walking off the private jet, and they now live in this huge mansion.
Do they know these parents?
No, they don't. But I think both of them felt they really, really identified with it because if you think about it, Candace lost her mother at a young age. And then her father had a nervous breakdown and couldn't care for them. And then Jacques' father was out of the picture, and he was working on the streets trying to survive and provide for his family at a young age.
That's
and they
nuts.
both felt for these kids and identified with them, and they wanted them to have a home.
And they needed to fill that 30-room house.
Yeah,
that's
and they
for
had
sure.
30 rooms. So they're back at the mansion, and Candace seems to just, like I said, she's super social. And kids have pool parties and stuff out in the yard, and she has bands over and invites the neighborhood, and she's just all out. So by 1960, Candace turns 40 in 1960.
Okay.
And this can be tough. I feel ya. She had some plastic surgery. Okay. She gets a bit of a makeover. She's kind of, coming out with like a new look. At the same time, seems to be the year that she starts telling everyone there was actually an error on her birth certificate and she's only 33. Just FYI.
Boy, embrace the age, girl.
Yeah, so she's struggling with the age.
Yeah.
And she's this, little blonde bombshell who has a really breathy Marilyn Monroe voice with an accent. That's how she sounds.
Okay.
And she's, at this time, Jacques' older, obviously, and he's definitely not interested in these parties anymore.
Sure.
So she's going out on her own or with friends. She's going to clubs at night to hear music. She's living it up. And more than likely flirting, and seems to be having affairs here and there. But I have to say, it seems that maybe Jacques is too.
Okay.
So that's
open relationship.
Maybe just how they roll.
Gotcha. We're in Houston right now.
They're in Texas.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly. They started in Houston, but I think they ended up moving eventually.
Okay.
So then the following year, 1961, Candace gets a call from her sister. Now, Candace has gone above and beyond to help her family now that she has money to an unhealthy degree.
8 siblings.
Yeah. And her sister calls and says, hey, Melvin, that's her son, so Candace's nephew, he ran a scam and he's in jail for the next 60 to 90 days. And I'm worried that when he gets out, he'll just fall back in with the same crowd. Can he come live with you for a while? So Candace says, yeah, the more the merrier. Candace loves having people. So Melvin gets out of jail and he comes to live with the Mosslers. Now, Melvin is only 19, but he does not look 19, just FYI. I feel like when you're 19 and you're, especially for guys, you can still look like a baby or you can look like a full-grown man. And he is huge. He's 6'4", broad shoulders. Everybody says he's tall, dark, and handsome. He looks as if he's in his 30s. But he's 19 when he comes to live with him. And Jacques is supposed to give him a job. Candace is all about it. She takes Mel under her wing, and he had acne scars, so she gets his skin sanded and she does some makeover stuff. She gets him a car, and she wants Jacques to give him a job. Now, in some sources I read that Jacques offered him a job right away, but it was doing maintenance, and Melvin said that was beneath him.
Bro.
Yeah. And so he didn't work for a while, and Jacques and Melvin didn't get along. Jacques thought that Melvin was rude and entitled, and apparently Melvin was pretty mean to the staff, ordering them around as if they worked for him.
That's terrible. And Jacques came from selling newspapers.
Yeah, exactly. So this goes on for a while, and Melvin's got a new car, and he's going to the bars. He's a ladies' man. He's doing his thing, right? He's not 19, 20, 21 kind of time period. And eventually Jacques just says, okay, I'm going to give you a job at the bank, in his mind thinking if he has his own job, then he can just get out.
Right.
Because the tension between him and Candace is building. He doesn't want Melvin there. Candace doesn't want to kick out family, right?
Oh.
So it's getting a little bit, they're having some tension around it. So Jacques gives him a job at the bank, and he's working there and still living at the house. And then Jacques starts hearing rumors around town that Candace is having an affair. So, Candace has had affairs, it sounds like. But this one seems different. It seems most of the affairs before are a party or when somebody's in town. They're kind of fleeting, but this one seems pretty consistent.
Uh-oh.
And so Jacques actually asks the staff about it. And one of the housekeepers finally says, yes, Miss Candace is having an affair with Melvin.
Oh, I knew it. I knew
Her
that was going to
nephew.
happen. Isn't it her nephew?
By blood.
Oh,
it's like your mushroom fungus tea.
How dare you? This tea is very good. This is not the 1800s. I mean, I know we're...
That's okay in the 1800s, ma'am.
I mean...
Yuck. I think cousins were in the 1800s, not nephews.
Okay, yeah, maybe that.
Yuck. So, Jacques, not super happy. He finds Candace's diaries, and she has the whole thing written out in there.
Good job, Candace. He makes me feel young again.
Well, remember I told you she gave him some makeovers?
Yeah.
So she had his skin sanded. In addition, she also paid to have his tonsils removed so that he wouldn't snore. She also had his ears pinned back. And she also paid for a circumcision.
Ew.
Yuck. Yeah.
I'm out. Bye.
Yeah, you need to sip that mushroom fungus tea.
Ugh, gross.
So, yeah, Jacques not pleased. He immediately fires Mel. You're out of here.
Get out.
And he has him escorted off of the property. I don't know if by the police or just,
he might have
muscles.
Like his stuff.
Yeah, but he's escorted off of the property. And Mel is ticked. And he says to him, I'll be back and you will regret this as the longest day of your life. Which makes no sense because
I don't understand
it's a pretty weak threat, but whatever.
The longest day of your life.
Jacques the day is over, so I don't come back to me with something else.
I don't like Mel at all. He's an entitled little, you know what.
Well, Candace isn't shining right now either.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So at this point, Jacques just has to get away from it all. So he has suddenly a bunch of business trips in Europe. He wants nothing to do with this.
Get out of there, Jacques.
Right? This is the fall of 1963, and he spends a ton of time over in Europe, and then when he comes back, he goes to an apartment in Miami. And he's just going to stay there. And now you might say, why doesn't he just get divorced?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they signed a contract. And if Candace files for divorce, she only gets $200,000. If Jacques files for divorce, she gets half. So Candace isn't going to file.
Why did they do that?
I mean, I don't know. I guess that was just what was agreed to at the time. So Jacques wants Candace to file. Candace is not going to file because she can't live off. That's $200,000. That's only a few household budgets. She can't, she's not going to make it. So Jacques is living in Florida and he's talking to his lawyer, trying to come up with a strategy so that he can exit this situation.
God.
Yeah.
Where's Jacques?
I know. So around this time of like spring of 1964, Jacques finds out that, well, first off, Mel and Candace are continuing the affair.
Okay. That's enough.
I mean, it's happening.
Ugh.
And Jacques finds out that the children that are left in the house, Candace is going to send them to boarding school in Switzerland.
What?
And he's not pumped about it. And Candace says, I'll bring the children down to visit you before they leave.
Mm-hmm.
So they go down at the end of June, right? And on June 30th, Candace would sometimes stay at the apartment and sometimes she would rent a room at one of the swanky hotels so they had access to the private beach because the apartment was kind of small for several children.
Right.
But on June 30th, she was actually at the apartment with the kids, and on June 30th, 12:30, 1 o'clock a.m. in the middle of the night, she takes all the kids and gets in the car and leaves. She says she had a migraine and needed to go to the hospital. She had suffered from really bad migraines and would often go and get a shot. Oh. Now, on the way to the hospital, she also stops to get stamps and mail some bills. Then she goes to the hospital with the children.
I mean, aren't there a bunch of them?
Yeah.
She needs a minivan.
And, well, 4.
Oh, right.
That are still there. And she sits at the hospital waiting for her medication. She comes back to the apartment with the kids Keep in mind the kids who she has adopted because their father murdered their mother.
Oh, God.
Walks into the apartment, and Jacques is dead in the living room.
And Jacques is having the longest day of his life.
The longest. Exactly right. Melvin wasn't lying. So the police come, obviously, and Candy...
How was he killed in a non-graphic way? Summarize? Beaten?
Beaten and stabbed. Yep. I earmuffed you earlier.
I know,
for the details. So the police arrive, and Candace tells them where she's been. Been at the hospital. I had a migraine, right? And they think that's weird, but easy to check. And yep, she was. That's where she was.
Okay.
They ask Candace, what do you think happened? And she says it must be a burglary because some money is missing. But there's no sign of forced entry. Also, Jacques had a beloved dog, and the dog seems just hanging out. Seems fine.
Oh, okay.
And the attack was too violent for the police to think that it was a robbery, which reminds me of the Wilkins case. You remember that we covered?
Yep.
It's that same thing. So police ask, was Jack unfaithful? And this is where it gets really weird. I don't know what she thought was happening, but she said, very almost as if they had to drag it out of the poor thing. She says, that her husband got very ill, and he did. He had bronchitis when he was in Europe, but bronchitis. And when he returned, he preferred men.
What is happening?
Yeah, I know. And they said, okay.
She's lost her marbles at this point.
I have no idea if Jacques was gay or not, but certainly he wasn't gay from bronchitis. I'll tell you that. I'm not a medical doctor, but I'm willing to bet something on that. Anyway, so she's trying to paint the picture of, a scorned lover. And I wonder if maybe she did this because the attack was so violent, they wouldn't believe that a woman could do it. That's pretty much why they knew Candace didn't do it herself, because it was just too intense.
Gotcha.
It had to be, and there's other reasons that'll come up. So she was probably trying to make it be a man.
Yeah.
More than likely. Anyway, so the police file that in the back of their minds. All right. And they start talking to the neighbors, and the neighbors heard a bunch of stuff. So the neighbors hear the dog barking at some point.
Do they hear yells?
They heard somebody yell, don't you do this to me. And a couple of the neighbors actually went and knocked on Jacques' door and said, are you okay? And he didn't respond, and so they thought he was fine, which I would make the counter argument.
Call the police, guys. They're not responding, and there's a scuffle. What do we think?
I know.
Real sharp neighbors.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the Mensa Club, I'm guessing. So at some point, the dog is out on the balcony and barking her head off.
Okay.
Right? Because you can imagine what she's hearing.
Of course.
And somebody upstairs yells, put that dog inside, because it's waking up the whole complex. And somebody yells back, she's inside now. And the dog is let inside. And then neighbors hear the door close and they hear heavy footsteps. And then two people see a man leave at that time and get into a white car and drive away.
A 6'4" broad-shouldered man, I wonder?
Mm-hmm. So the police are thinking, okay, we need to start looking for this burly man. And then they find Jacques' journal. And it talks about the affair. And it actually says...
diaries.
I know, a lot of diaries. If they don't kill me first, I'll have to kill them.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's possible that Jacques was considering the same plan.
Yeah. Well, they got him first.
But this puts, obviously, two people at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Right? So, because Candace didn't divulge this information on her own. She gave that whole bronchitis scare. So the police start the investigation. The white car that the person was seen to have, made his escape with, Candace had, when she arrived in Florida, had a white car from Jacques' company delivered for her to use. She said she returned it before the murder, but the person who delivered the car said no, she didn't. And so they start looking for this car. They find it in the short-term parking of the airport with blood and fingerprints inside it.
So we're dealing with a real smart person.
So they check the flights for that day. And guess who was on a flight back to Texas? Melvin.
Shocker.
And he had arrived the night before with only a briefcase.
I mean, what do you think is going to happen here?
So the fingerprints in the car are Melvin's. They also find a handprint in the apartment on the kitchen counter. They believe that the killer washed their hands and left the handprint. That handprint is also Melvin's.
Okay.
Yeah. They arrest Melvin. And he also has blood on his clothes.
Oh my God. Throw those clothes out. Like, get it together.
Yeah. I don't know if you are rooting for the right things right now.
I mean, he's just not being smart.
I mean, how about you root for the investigators to lock this down?
But it's so easy for them.
Oh, yeah. Well, hold up. So charges are filed against Mel very quickly. Candy gets a very expensive famous lawyer to take care of it, obviously.
Duh.
But
with their $5,000 a month.
Well, her assets are frozen.
Oh.
Because Jacques is dead. Now, if Jacques is dead, she'll get the whole thing, but there's some questions. So she pays this lawyer in her jewelry that Jacques gave her as gifts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's ironic.
Yeah. And then right after she retains the lawyer for Melvin, she suddenly becomes very ill and checks herself into the Mayo Clinic. Indefinitely. Yeah. So they decide that obviously they're pressing charges against Melvin, but they think Candace is involved, but Melvin won't say anything about her.
Really?
Tight-lipped. No, which I'm surprised by too. Nope.
Yeah.
He keeps it shut, and she won't say anything about him. I mean, it's really the perfect opportunity for her to play the damsel in distress and say, oh, I didn't know he was going to do it, but she doesn't. So, yeah, they hold strong, and then they keep investigating, keep getting evidence the best they can, and then they decide to press charges against Candace as well. And Candace's lawyer encourages her to surrender in Florida because she's, hiding at the Mayo Clinic.
Yeah.
So she flies down to Florida. This is July of 1965, so it's been a whole year.
Okay.
And she surrenders. And when she gets off the plane, it's a red carpet event.
Oh,
the media is there. And she does not look like a woman who's about to surrender for first-degree murder. She looks thrilled. And one of the reporters says, asks her, did you kill your husband? She says, of course not. And then they say, Mrs. Mossler, you've been accused of incest, adultery, and murder. What would you like people to know about you? And do you know what she says?
Oh, God. What?
Ready? She goes, well, sir, no one is perfect.
Oh, my God.
Your bar for perfection is a little messed up, ma'am.
Disgusting.
Yeah. I'm like,
Candy, you're out.
Oh, but the people love her.
Oh.
So they actually try them together, which later they think was a big mistake because people loved Candace so much.
She's incestuous.
Well, she never admitted to that. And there were some weird...
come on.
Well, I know, but I'm saying. So the trial starts in January. I wrote 1066. I'm going to guess that's 1966, just so the United States organization lives in the same place. Anyway, 1966.
Time traveling again.
Yeah. And you have to be 21 to even enter the courtroom because it's so salacious.
Oh.
The deets are just too much for anybody under 21 to handle. And there's like full house, and you have to, they're letting people in for seating. I mean, it's a whole event. It's like,
wow.
There's, ushers and everything. So they try them together. And again, they have all this evidence against Mel, but Mel's handprint isn't the only handprint in the kitchen. There's a bunch of them. And, he does know Mel. So the defense argues that away, that it could be anybody else. The prosecution finds a couple people that testify that Candace and Mel had talked to them about hiring to kill Jacques.
Oh.
And they bring them in to testify, but they overdo it. They bring in a ton of people. So obviously some of those people have to be lying because they're
Of course.
just trying to get out of prison. And it's so many people, it suddenly becomes unbelievable.
Yep.
Right? Like, that person's not believable. That person's not believable. So if those two are lying, then the other 5 you brought in have to be lying. Yeah. And I told you, the lawyer that she hired knew what he was doing, right? And so he gets pretty much everything thrown out, any evidence against them. And I have to say, this piece of evidence is, I don't know how you can overlook this, but remember I told you that he was hit in the head?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know what he was hit in the head with because they couldn't find, there were no weapons anywhere. Well, Mel, on his way from the airport to Jacques' apartment, he stopped about halfway at a hotel bar. And the bartender remembers seeing him because he stuck out, there it is, because he was not dressed like a tourist. So everybody else is in shorts and sandals, and he was in a suit, and he's enormous.
Oh, I
So he
see.
remembers him, and he poured him a drink, and he had a scotch, and then he asked, "Hey, can I have an empty bottle, please?" And he gave him a heavy Coke bottle. And Mel put it in his pocket and left, apparently.
What are you going to do with that? It's a weird request.
And so that's what they think he used. Obviously, that was one of the murder weapons.
God.
And I don't know how you, I guess, I mean, that's, again, you can't prove that because the bottle wasn't there. So,
yeah.
But that was the theory. Anyway, the trial goes on. The jury deliberates for 4 days, and they deliver a not guilty verdict.
How?
Candace.
That's absurd.
Candace, brace yourself. Candace kisses all the men on the jury.
I'm out. I'm done.
Then kisses Mel and gets into a gold Cadillac and drives away. Yeah.
I don't even know what to say.
I'm telling you, they think that they could not believe that Candace would be involved, and because they were tried together, plus the lawyer was really good, plus everything.
Someone paid the judge.
I don't think that's what happened. But
that's absurd.
Yeah.
I'm pissed for Jacques.
Yeah, I know. No, and so here's the saddest part is nobody was ever brought to justice for Jacques because the investigators weren't going to spend any more time on it because they were confident that they had found the right people.
Yeah.
So they don't even have anywhere else to look. So that they didn't do anything further in the case, and nobody's ever been convicted.
Again. Wow. That's terrible. What about the kids? They must feel a little weird about it.
Can't be good. I mean,
I
people
Candace
loved her.
They were a bad death.
Say it again.
I hope that Candace and Mel died bad death.
Yikes! You are such a vigilante. Chill. So Candace and Mel moves back into the mansion.
No, I'm very upset.
After the trial, a reporter said, sorry, it sounded insane because it's so ridiculous. A reporter says, "So are you two going to get married now?" And Candace says, "Oh, heavens, no." Well, because you can't, because it's illegal, ma'am. Ooh. And she claimed that he wasn't by blood, but by all accounts he was. Still gross. I mean.
Oh my God, this is terrible.
Yeah. So Mel and Candace lived together in the mansion after the trial. Not forever. As you might imagine, it wasn't, Romeo and Juliet. But so I read an article in a Texas Monthly that did a profile on this case, and they had some theories and, people talking kind of after the fact. And one person came forward and said that Mel had relayed a story about when he was with Candy. They got in a fight. And he went into the bathroom and slammed the door to get away from her. And she took a gun out and shot through the door 3 times. And if he hadn't moved away from the door, he would have been killed.
Whoa.
I don't know if that's true or not, but
that's intense.
That was one of the stories. So yeah, they broke up eventually.
Was it worth it, guys?
Pretty volatile.
Wow.
I mean, they were together for a while.
I'm just so grossed out.
And they broke up. And Candace actually remarried.
Good luck to you.
Well, here, hold on. She remarries a man named Barnett Garrison, who was 32. She's 50 at the time.
Okay.
And there's, again, I can't prove these things, but there's some stories that a month after they got married, they got in a huge fight because he liked to frequent a club that had go-go dancers, which doesn't even seem that big a deal. Aren't go-go dancers just in little skirts and tops? Do I not know?
I've never been to a go-go club.
Me either. It doesn't matter. Anyway, that club burned to the ground.
Whoa.
And it was suspicious, so people wonder.
Oh my God.
And then they'd only been married a little bit of time. They got in another fight, and Candace locked him out of the house. The story goes that he climbed up to the 3rd floor balcony to get back in and fell off and suffered traumatic brain injury. He actually survived, but he suffered a traumatic brain injury and had no memory of the event. But there are rumors that Candy hired people to teach him a lesson.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And so that ended. Candace divorced him because after his brain injury, he moved in with his parents, and his parents wouldn't let her see him anymore.
Good. Somebody's smart.
Yeah. Well, so during this time, too, Candace actually tripled the Mossler business.
Really? She's running it?
Yeah. She took everything. She got everything. She brought it up to over $100 million.
Wow.
Yeah. But in 1976, she accidentally died of an overdose of migraine medication. So that was the end.
What happens to your body when you overdose on migraine medicine? I wonder.
I don't know. I mean, she was taking pretty strong stuff.
I'm really upset about her.
Yeah. So it's interesting because she's not really, we did the episode on the Black Widow. She's not really a Mary Ann Cotton.
No.
Because she never hurt the children physically, it would appear. I mean, there's got to be some other stuff going on. But she's not hurting the children. It seems more narcissistic.
Oh, for sure.
Than, serial killer-ish. She's just really...
Yeah.
Like, this had to be done in her mind so she could keep her money.
She's obsessed with the good life. She's obsessed with being young and beautiful and having the life that she wants to have. And Jacques was just getting too old and stuffy. And look at this hot nephew, you disgusting person.
Oof. Yuck.
Wow.
Yuck. I mean, they were acquitted. So, there you go.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. And there are other details, too, that are just... So, when she was at she was at the hospital the night of the murder, obviously. And the nurse reported that Candace asked specifically when she was checked in, do you put the time that I arrive in your notes? Which is a super weird question.
Yeah,
and
that's a weird question.
She also received 3 phone calls at the nurse's station that night, which is also incredibly strange. She said they were from her doctor, but more than likely, right, it was Mel letting her know, giving her updates.
Oh, just beat him to death. Wow.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
I definitely needed this pu'er tea for that story.
This is a lot of pu'er in here. This is some fungusy mushroom stuff. Yuck.
Ugh. What a terrible, terrible thing.
Yeah. Imagine being in a world where, both people, first off, they have diaries, which I find interesting, and then they're both writing in it that got to take care of the other one.
Yeah. Ugh.
Although there was no evidence that Jacques was doing that. That may have just been a feeling, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that was an action.
Yeah, no.
He felt unsafe, which you are correct, sir.
You are very correct. Wow. What terrible people. Isn't it crazy what people will do? It's disturbing.
Yeah, it is disturbing.
The thing is, she wasn't like, I could understand. No, I don't understand is the wrong word.
What?
I could see if her livelihood was threatened. You have an emotional wound from deep poverty, right? You're terrified of going back to something like that. But she wasn't even in threat of that. they were fine, right? Like, I mean, there was some wanting, like, I don't know how much she knew about him wanting to divorce, but again, they had that, that contract that worked out for her, but I don't know. It just
But I
seemed,
assume she knew that he was trying to get his ducks in a row so that he could divorce her.
yeah.
But I can't imagine. I mean, I
They're
can't
half.
imagine where half of 33 million isn't enough.
Right. That's what I'm saying. There's no threat of poverty.
Plus, I mean, I don't want to throw her compliments, but she seems to be pretty smart in the
Right.
sense that she grew the business.
Right.
I mean, who knows? And maybe she had just really good advisors and she took credit, but she probably could have done a lot with half of $33 million.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not the choice I would have made.
Candace, you suck.
Yeah.
Mel, you really suck.
Oof. I don't feel any sympathy, but also it is disturbing that he was, 19 when he moved in with them.
Yeah. I mean, she definitely took advantage of him.
But when you see him, you don't feel any sympathy because he looks 35.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
I just like people need to put stuff together. Ugh. I
Yeah.
can't believe that jury.
And then she kissed all the men on the mouth. Gosh, I can just see it, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Oh.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I'm disgusted. I am overwhelmed with disgust.
Doesn't look good. They should have tried them separately. And then at least maybe Candace probably still would have gotten away
I'm
with
trying to
it.
think if Jacques had any relatives still, but he was getting older. Like his mom probably would.
I think his brother.
Wonder how he felt.
It couldn't have been good.
No. God.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah. So that is the Mosslers or Jacques.
So do their business still, is it still around?
I have no idea. I didn't
I
look.
gotta look that up.
Yikes.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was around when at the time of her death.
Right. In the late 60s.
Well, 70s.
70s.
Right? 76.
76. I was thinking.
Yeah, because the 60s is when the murder happened. So
Uh,
she didn't live much longer after it. Mel actually lived until 2010.
Ew, that's so recent.
I know. Yeah.
I hope he had a lot of bad things happen to him throughout his life.
He was actually pretty successful in business.
Ugh. Well, maybe he stubbed his toe every morning.
That sounds even, Stephen. Longest day of your life.
Oh man, people
Yeah.
are the worst.
Yeah. Icky. Isn't this one just icky?
Yeah, I feel gross. Thank you
Yeah.
for that on this lovely day.
I know. I'm glad it's over, honestly, because I've been reading about it all week and I'm just,
Ugh.
it's not even the
Yeah.
most, I mean, it's terrible, but it's not the most
It's not,
gruesome.
yeah, right. It's not the most gruesome. It's just gross.
It's just gross. So many levels.
Yeah, so many
Ew.
levels.
There's a lot of ick factor.
Ugh.
And
Ugh.
the children and the fact that you leave the children somewhere else.
Right.
Why
Right.
even subject them to that?
Yeah, because you know what you're going home to.
Yeah.
That's gross. That's another level of gross.
Yeah. I feel that there were a lot of ways to avoid that. Stay at the hotel that night.
Of course.
Call one of your staff to go over and check on him. You can, play it all concerned and say, "Oh, I haven't heard from Jacques. Can somebody go check on him?" And then
Right.
they'll go. Sorry, this voice is really taking over.
It's the breathy Marilyn Monroe. I think
Yeah,
you're nailing it.
No, I'm nailing it. All right. Yeah. Anyway, bye, Candace.
Thanks for that.
And Mel, you're out of the picture. Alana, do you have any words of wisdom to turn this around?
Oh, I sure do.
Oh.
Say no to incest, no matter what.
I don't think you can rebrand the drug model for this instance.
Ugh.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. I think we now have a Facebook page. Is that true?
It is.
It is.
It is true. It's just not very exciting right now.
Well,
but we will make it exciting. Don't you
Alana
worry
created
about that.
it because I tried to create it, and this stuff happens to me constantly, all the time.
She has like a technological ghost or something that haunts her and just ruins everything tech-wise.
Yes. Thank you for understanding. I tried to create a page. I created it. I was like, I did it. We have it. And then I get an alert from Facebook saying that your account has been restricted for running ads and you need to prove that you are who you say you are, or your account will be blocked permanently. So that's where we're at. I deleted the page and said, I can't handle this. It's all yours. I'm still blocked by Facebook. And I guess I can't run ads on my personal account, which I was never, ever doing. I'd never run an ad in my whole life. So I'm not sure what happened.
This is a classic Megan occurrence.
All the time. Everything that happens to me, I can't tell you how many times I go to Brad and say, it's not working. And then he looks at it and says, what did you do? I've never seen this before. Just on a regular basis. And usually, honest to God, what happens, and I don't even get offended anymore. He'll just say, can you leave, please? And I'll just, and I'm like, yeah, that's fair. And I'll go in another area of the house, and then I'll hear him yell, all right, it's fixed.
Yeah,
and then
it's the aura. It's something that's haunting you just with tech stuff.
Yeah, it's very challenging.
And hilarious for everybody else.
I don't know if my coworkers feel the same way you feel about it. When I say things like, oh, I can't do the latest update in my like right now, currently for my computer, every time I share my screen, a green bar appears around the screen that stays up until I restart my computer for no reason. Just lives there. And I also bought a new laptop, brand new laptop for work. And I got it, and it was very stressful setting it up because I don't know how to do any of this. It was 2 days of my life. And then I finally set it up and I got into it, and the computer images, the screen just shook violently back and forth. And I had to call their helpline.
It's the haunting.
I know. I called their helpline and they just said, yeah, that shouldn't happen. You'll have to return it. So I gave up and I have no computer.
Yeah, so generally she just shouldn't be around technology.
So Alana handles our social media is the point of this whole story. And she created a Facebook page, and you can find us at
Tea Time Crimes
on Instagram, or you can email us at
teatimecrimes@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, we would. And I'm not going to tell you about next week either. I don't know what kind of tea. I'm going to let you decide what kind of tea to bring.
Oh, okay. That's fun.
Whatever moves you. You always pick great teas.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right. That's it. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.